Welcome to Solo Sailing with Trevor White. So tonight I'm going to talk about what defines a solo sail or solo ocean cruiser. Often we get the image of a figure navigating vast oceans by themselves, big seas. People think of that as the solo sailor, solo ocean cruiser. But I don't think there's any single universally accepted definition of what a solo sailor is. There's certainly the image in people's heads. There's a need to be self-reliant, single-handedly tackle all the tasks required to operate the vessel, from navigation to maintenance, repairs, emergencies. You need minimal reliance on external support, so you need to be prepared meticulously, carry the necessary supplies and equipment to handle all the situations that you'll encounter as a solo sailor. Decision-making authority. It's all yours. There's no one else going to help tell you what to do or help you out. You need to chart your own course. You need to change course as required. You need to adapt to changing conditions. There is nobody helping you. You're undertaking extended voyages in many cases if you're out in the ocean. It goes beyond coastal sailing. It involves extended periods at sea by day and by night, often in deteriorating weather conditions or terrible weather conditions. You're crossing oceans and tackling significant distances by yourself. You need to be comfortable with solitude. You need to be a person who can be by themselves, embrace the challenges and the rewards of being alone. And those periods can be extended. They can be extended without you planning for them if something goes wrong. A week-long trip can become a 3-week trip. You need to have strong, or would I say better, sound sailing skills. Have the knowledge and practical experience in seamanship, navigation, weather forecasting, and emergency procedures to back yourself, because that's what it takes. It takes that belief in your own ability to deal with anything to be a solo sailor, or otherwise you're going to be doubting yourself. You need to have a adventurous spirit, driven by something. For me, it's a desire to explore. I don't so much see it as challenging myself. I'm just driven to find new places, new experiences. I like being able to do it independent of other people. Have a resilience and problem-solving skills. Be prepared to face unexpected challenges and find the solutions independently. Be able to adapt to those challenges. Find a way around them, through them. I find that, rewarding. You have to be resourceful and you have to have self-discipline. You need to be able to do everything yourself. No one's going to be there to help you. Starlink makes it easier these days. You can reach out if you need a hand. In decision making, in planning, or just someone to talk to. But at the end of the day, in many cases, you're solo on the ocean by yourself, and you need to find a way around and have the resources or adapt to fixing those problems. The type of vessel we take, there's various types of vessels, and I think, we could probably do a whole podcast on the perfect solo sailing vessel. I've touched on it previously. I think 35 foot is about the perfect solo vessel. Is it the most practical vessel for living? I don't think so. There's some 35 footers which are fantastic boats. They're beamy, they're great liverboards, they're good sea boats. I think 35 is a fantastic size as a sea boat. But not all of them are perfect for ocean cruising. My boat's 44 foot. There's a lot more living space. I like the volume of it, but it is difficult when I need to bring it into a pen or bring it alongside a fuel wharf. If I'm doing that solo, it's quite challenging, And then there's people who have got 60 and 70 foot boats who have been completely modified to solo sailing with bow thrusters, stern thrusters, twin props. They're far more manoeuvrable and they can manage them, and they've adapted those boats to suit the challenges of solo or shorthanded sailing. I think all solo sailors embrace technology and communication architecture. It's always changing. Remember my first solo sail, I was back in 97 I think it was, and I was going through Bass Strait essentially solo. I had charts of the whole country back then, and a handheld navigation tool. I think it was a Garmin handheld. That was my tools. I didn't have a chart plotter. They weren't that common back then. Didn't even have radar. At that stage, I didn't even have an autopilot. It had failed. So I had, what did I use back then? Well, I think we had radio radio telephone. So I think I reached out one night on radio telephone via Telstra to get some assistance. These days, we have Elon Musk and Starlink who can help us out far more readily when we have a problem. We can reach out to someone and get the answers. So you need to embrace technology and communications if you're a solo sailor. And there's a variety of different methods. I mean, Starlink's great, but it doesn't work in anything above about sea state 4 or 5. It becomes unstable, and those conditions can extend for a week. Whereas other methods, we go back to weather facts and not snail mail, but older HF email might still work. Everybody who's a solo sailor generally needs some form of community support. That's a mate or mates, family. Just reach out and say good day, have a chat. I like taking on crew. I don't like solo sailing all the time. I enjoy taking on crew and meeting people. I enjoy teaching people how to sail. I enjoy going to some of these places and experiencing, just the wonder of these places with crew, or my partner. It's great to spend time in places with people and just to enjoy it. And I enjoy really seeing people learn how to sail, and they either find the wonder of it or they go, it's not for me. Either way, that's fine. That's something I enjoy doing. I don't enjoy being with those people all the time, a few weeks at a time, and then I'm ready to move them on. That aspect of sailing is something I really enjoy. I think the other important aspects of solo sailing, it's you get the people who do the extreme, like the sailing around the world. They are the ones we see on TV and the trimarans. They're doing 30 knots downwind, and those boats are just getting beaten up. And those guys and girls, they're exceptional individuals. It's a fairly straightforward situation. They are sailing, their ability to support it, and they're not touching land. They're just doing one big lap. 40, 50 days. I think it's far harder as a solo sailor, coastal cruising or ocean cruising to new lands. Going through customs, finding ports, refueling, getting food, negotiating with the locals, all of these things as a solo, it's quite challenging at times. These ocean races, they've got massive support networks. Something goes wrong, they've got a team there to help them. Generally, we're just, we're improvising and we're dealing with the situation as it happens. I think the defining skill of a solo sailor, or definition, is probably independence. They're independent thinkers. They're independent of other people. They're independent problem solvers. They can just generally get things done. I think that's a good thing for all sailors to have those skills. I say the same thing to all cruisers. People who want to buy a boat and go cruising. You need to learn the skills to be independent of society when you're on a boat. It doesn't matter whether you're a corporate type or a tradie who's looking at purchasing a boat or just purchased a boat. You need to have the skills to do everything on that boat yourself. You can't rely on other people when there's no one around. It doesn't matter how much money you got. If there's no one to assist you, money's worthless. So you need to spend your time and your money and develop the skills required to be able to be comfortable and confident in your own abilities. And I think that is what's essential for a solo sailor. The boat doesn't matter so much. Like my boat's a 50-year-old ketch. It's not built for solo sailing. It's built as a crewed vessel, but many of its features make it very desirable as a vessel for solo sailing. And I think we'll do a whole podcast on desirable attributes of a vessel for solo sailing. And I think they vary a great deal depending on your the type of sailing you want to do and the budget that you have, how many crew you potentially put on board. A lot of falls into systems. I have 3 or 4 independent autopilots, and you can't be a solo sailor without autopilots or wind vanes. It's just impossible unless you've got exceptional skills or your boat has exceptional tracking abilities. It's autopilots and wind vanes are essential for solo sailing. And technology, I believe, is also essential in this day and age. The world's becoming far more complicated, and you need to have the technology to adapt and thrive in it. But I think the other thing that's essential for solo sailing is good foundation skills. If you're going to go where you have the desire to be a solo sailor, you have to have a foundation in, or solid foundation in sailing. And I'm not talking about racing. I think, racing skills are handy, but they don't always make the best cruisers, and they certainly don't make the best, offshore solo sailors. So cruising is different to racing. Cruising is a completely different thought process. It's about enduring, and it's about going places and enjoying those places. Racing is about getting around on a specific objective in a certain amount of time. Cruising is about enjoying the journey. And as a solo sailor, that's what you're also doing. You're enjoying the journey, but you're doing it independently, and you're preparing the boat and yourself for those journeys independent of other people. So, it's very much about preparation and having the skills required. I would say nearly all solo sailors need a good foundation in sailing skills. So something like yacht master or an equivalent skill is certainly handy, but you don't need that if you've got good foundation skills. But those courses do teach independence, and if you're being assessed as a yacht master or offshore skippers, the minimum, they're teaching your ability to operate as a skipper or a master of a vessel, and that's a different way of being assessed versus being crew. Having someone look at you in that way is essential. And if you are, you do have the desire to solo sail and solo sail long ocean passages, then having those assessments is good. Right? It gives you the ability for someone to look at you and see where your faults are, tell you where you need to gain strength. And you can see from other people when you're sailing with them, what strengths and weaknesses they have. There's a great way to look at people's skills and go, oh, well, I should develop that skill because he's doing that really well, or she's doing that really well. Thought process of redundancy, thinking ahead all the time. The skills that you need as a solo sailor. You need to be able to think 10 steps ahead. What's going to happen? Plan for it. Have that redundancy mindset. That's the problem I see with a lot of sailors. I look at them, I talk to them, and they're ship breaking down all the time, but they haven't even forecast that things are going to break. Like there's so many so many sailors who only have one autopilot. They don't have spares. They don't have redundant systems. Everything is configured to their chart plotter. Everything is networked. And that's great for the company selling the equipment, but it's certainly no good for a solo sailor to think like that. You can have your primary system completely integrated, the latest technology, but you need redundant systems, and you need a third redundant system and maybe a fourth redundant system. That's how you need to think. You need to have redundancy in all your systems. That's why I like a catch. My masts are not joined together. They're completely independent. So if I get rolled and snap one, I might end up with the other. I have 3 electronic autopilots. I have a wind vane. My wind vane can be controlled by another electronic autopilot. So that basically gives me 4. I have various sail configurations. In addition to my chart plotter, I have a tablet and a phone with navionics on it, OpenCPM on my laptop, and then I have a Garmin small chart plotter, which has just got world charts on it. In addition to that, I have paper charts and a sextant, and I still practice the use of the traditional navigation if something goes wrong. Like I've been hit by lightning before and lost my navigation and radios. And these things do happen. So I find that there's far too many sailors who are reliant on technology. And then I also see a growing trend in younger people to be reliant on mobile phone and navigation with navionics. I think that's also a little foolish. I mean, I like navionics. I love it. I think it's great. Fantastic for going into ports. But it's not the only system I would have on board. And I think you, as a solo sailor, or any sailor for that matter, you need 2, if not 3 layers of redundancy. And I think you always should have at least planning charts on board of where you're going. They don't need to be the smallest scale, but they need to be able to pick up most of the dangers on the ocean where you're going to be sailing in. Because if you lose your navigation, then you can pull out your chart. You've got a rough idea where you are, and you should be logging your position at least every 6 hours. if you're on the ocean. And then you can start travelling and navigating old school way. People have been doing it for thousands of years. It still works. So yeah, the ability to believe in yourself, plan, have redundancy built into everything you do, they're essential skills for a solo sailor. I could probably go on, and I should, but I think defines a solo sailor is confidence in themselves and their ability to get things done, finish the journey. Thanks for joining me. I will talk to you again. See you out there and safe sailing.